subscribe and click the bell icon to turn on notifications.
Hello everybody and welcome to today's webinar on making the most of OneNote. Thank you to everyone joining us from all over the world today. I see we have a few people, a few more people coming in, and great that you could all make it this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are in the world. Just a couple of notes from myself, Adam, before we get started, and I hand over to the very talented Deborah Ashby. First is we have a new course called Excel for Business Analysts. That course is live on Simon Says It and StreamSkills, so as a member you can now access that course. It's a really good course. In fact, if you're looking for sort of where to go next with Excel, maybe you've got a sort of beginner to intermediate level of knowledge, I'd really recommend that course. I think it gives you a set of Excel tools that can really help you take your spreadsheeting to the next level, and it's specifically focused around the tools that you need to conduct business and data analysis, and the Excel functions and formulas you need to make the most of that. So that's a new course available right now on both the websites. As far as today's webinar goes, normal kind of rules apply. So you can see a chat panel down in the bottom right hand corner. Please drop any messages you want into that chat panel and I will do my best to answer them. And if I can't answer them, then we will wait until the end and we will ask Debs. Do let us know where you're from as well. It's always good to sort of say hello. So yeah, do that if you get a second. There is no downloadable exercise today because this is just a demonstration of OneNote. So you can, I believe, start with a blank OneNote file, but I'll let Debs tell you more about that soon. And then finally, of course, there will be a recording as always. And as you've registered for this webinar, you'll get an email with that recording on tomorrow. I'll make sure that goes out tomorrow from the two of us. Great, right. Without further ado, I will hand over to Deborah Ashby, who's going to tell us all about OneNote.
Thank you so much, Adam, for that wonderful introduction as always. Hi, everyone. A very warm welcome to today's webinar, Making the Most of OneNote. And it's been a really long time since we've done a webinar on OneNote. In fact, I can't even remember the last time we did a webinar on OneNote, but I find with OneNote, it's one of those applications that historically is kind of a lesser known application in the Microsoft suite. But over time, and more recently in the last sort of 18 months or so, we've really seen an increase in its popularity when it comes to a fully functional, fully featured note-taking application. So in today's lesson, what we're basically going to do is we're just going to open up OneNote and we're going to explore how exactly it works. So if you've never used it before, then this is going to be perfect for you. Even if you have had a little play around with it, hopefully I'm going to show you some features and functionality within the application that you didn't know and that's going to make your life a little bit easier. Now, for anyone who is new to our webinars, I will briefly introduce myself. So my name is Deborah Ashby and I'm a freelance IT trainer specializing in the design, delivery and facilitation of Microsoft courses, both online and also in the classroom. And as you've already heard, I have the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Adam Lacey with me today, who's going to be monitoring that chat panel. So do pop any questions that you have into there. I will, of course, as always, leave some time at the end to answer any questions you have specifically about the content of the course. So let's jump in and take a look at our agenda for today. Now, we have quite a few agenda items, but these are reasonably short things to go through. So don't be too overwhelmed with the amount of agenda items. We're going to start out just talking about what is OneNote and why it's useful. We're then going to jump into the application and I'm going to show you the general structure and how you can start to create your notebooks, sections and pages. We're going to take a look at how you can add different types of notes, so not just text notes, lots of pictures and maps and things like that. I'm going to show you how you can utilize the OneNote Clipper and also the screen clipping tool to pull content into OneNote. I'm going to show you how you can insert documents and how you can utilize something called tagging to make it really easy to group together your OneNote items. And I'm going to show you a little bit in relation to the integration that OneNote has with Outlook. As with most things in Microsoft, everything is all linked together, and OneNote is no different. I'm then going to show you how you can record audio and video files from directly within OneNote, how you can use page templates, and also how you can utilize the ink to text feature. So that's a good one for anybody who maybe uses a tablet device with a stylus. I'm going to show you how you can convert any of your handwritten notes to typed text. We're going to go through something called linked notes, and I'm going to show you how to create a local notebook as well. And then finally, I'm going to finish up just by showing you how you can share your notebooks with other people, and then also how you can delete notebooks. And that last point, deleting notebooks, is slightly more complicated than it first seems. And it's probably the thing I get most questions about, is how do you delete a notebook? So we're going to run through that at the end. So those are our agenda items. Let's start out with that first question. What is OneNote and why is it useful? Well, OneNote is essentially your digital notebook. So imagine if your favorite beaten up old paper notebook had a digital makeover, it would probably look something like OneNote. So it allows you to gather information, store it, and also collaborate with others in shared notebooks. And you can gather lots of different items and pull it into OneNote, things like text-based notes, pictures, links, drawings, screen clippings, audio. The list is pretty much endless. You can also organize your information across notebooks with sections and pages. So again, very similar to a paper notebook, we have our notebook, we have our divided sections, and then we have our pages. And it has really easy navigation and a tagging feature that will help you when it comes to searching for specific notes. So hopefully you'll never lose your notes again. And because OneNote is available across lots of different, it's available in Office 365, and it's also available as an app on your phone. You can access all of your notes across your devices, so your PC, your tablet, and your phone. And you can do things like revise your notes with type, highlighting, or ink notations. And finally, you can also share and collaborate on notebooks. So if you have a team of people working together, you can essentially create a team notebook, share it with your other colleagues, and you can all collaborate on that notebook together. And as I mentioned, there are some features in OneNote that allow you to integrate with Microsoft Outlook. And I'm going to run through some of those in the demonstration today. So that is kind of a brief overview of what OneNote is and the kinds of things that you can expect in this webinar. So let's move on to taking a look at how you can access OneNote. Now, again, with Microsoft, there's always a whole plethora of different ways that you can access their applications. So I want to be quite specific about this so you can take a look at the different options you have and relate it to the one that's going to suit you the best. So if you are a Windows 10 user, which I am currently, there is an app for OneNote available through the Microsoft Store. And what you might find is if you have a newer copy of Windows 10, it actually comes preloaded. So if you are using Windows 10 and you want to check, if you jump down and do a quick search for OneNote, you might find that you already have the OneNote app installed on your PC. Now, I will say with the version that comes with Windows 10, it is a light version of OneNote. It doesn't have the extensive features like the desktop application has, but it does enable you to do all of the basics if you need to edit it on the go. We also have OneNote for the web. So this would be for people who have Microsoft 365 or what was formerly known as Office 365 subscriptions. So if you do have a subscription to Office 365, when you go into the portal, you should find that you have access to the web version of OneNote. Now, again, this is a lighter version of the desktop application, which just allows you to edit your notes on the go. We then have the OneNote 2016-2019 desktop application. Now that is what I'm going to be using today. And this is the fully featured rich desktop app. Now, again, if you want this, if you have a subscription to Microsoft 365, you can download the full versions of all of your apps, not just OneNote, directly from within your Office 365 portal. And that will give you the OneNote desktop version. If you just want the standalone version, you can download it from the web address that I have listed there. And then finally, we have a OneNote app available for the smartphone. So it's available for iOS, Android, and Windows Phone if you want to edit your notes on your phone when you're on the go. Phew, so many different options when it comes to downloading OneNote. All right, let's get rid of this PowerPoint presentation and let us jump in to OneNote. So essentially, I've just opened up OneNote from my icon in my start bar at the bottom. And this is essentially what it looks like when you open the full version of OneNote. Now, you might notice immediately that it has a very similar structure to a lot of the other Microsoft applications. So we have that ribbon structure. We have our tabs running across the top, which contain our different commands. We also have that File tab, which is going to take us into that Backstage area where we can access our more admin-y features of OneNote. So things like creating new notebooks, opening, sharing, so on and so forth. So a very similar structure to everything else in Microsoft. Now, one thing that is slightly different is in the top left-hand corner, we have the word Notebooks. And if I click the drop down, it gives me this little menu, and currently I don't have any notebooks open. So what I can do from here is this is where I would come to create a new notebook, or if I have a notebook saved off somewhere else, I can open a notebook from here as well. So what we're going to do in this demonstration is we're going to create a new notebook from scratch. So I'm going to click on the Add Notebook button. And it essentially takes me back to that Backstage area, and I need to select a location in which to store my new notebook. Now, I'm going to store mine in OneDrive. I have OneDrive on this PC, so I'm going to put it in cloud storage. Now, you don't have to. If you wanted to save it to your desktop or one of your local drives, you can simply click the Browse button here and then select the location to store your notebook. Now, I'm going to click Browse anyway, because I want to put it in a specific folder. So I'm in OneDrive, you can see here, and I have a folder called OneNote Notebooks, and this is where I'm going to place my notebook. And I'm going to call this, let's call this Deb's Notebook. And click on Create. Now, the first thing that's coming up here is it's saying your notebook has been created. Would you like to share it with other people? So at this stage, at the creation stage, I can choose to invite other people to this notebook if I want to. Now, an important point to note here is that if you do want to share your notebook with other people, you need to make sure that the notebook is saved in a shared location, so something like OneDrive. If I save my notebook locally on my local PC, then I'm not going to be able to share that with anybody else. Okay, so if you want to share, it needs to be in a shareable location. Now, I'm not going to invite other people to this right now, so I'm going to say not now, because I can invite people at a later stage. And here we go. So now I have my notebook. It's called Deb's Notebook, and I can see it listed just here. So every time you create a new notebook, they will just be added underneath in a big long list. Now, a way that I can tell that I have actually saved this notebook to cloud storage is that you can see that I have this little sync icon next to the folder. And it automatically updates, and it's constantly saving any changes that I make. What you'll also see now is that if I open up File Explorer and navigate to my Documents OneNote Notebooks folder, you can see there it's synchronized and my Deb's notebook is sitting there in File Explorer. So pretty easy to create a new notebook. Now, if we click this drop down again and right click, we have a right click menu in here, which allows us to do various different things with this notebook. If I jump down to properties, if I wanted to maybe change the display name of this notebook, which I'm actually going to do, I'm going to call this my work notebook. And I can also change the color of the folder if you want to do that. And I could choose to change the location where my notebook is stored from here as well. I'm going to click on OK. So now that I have this open, let's talk about sections and pages. So I've got my work notebook open just here, and you'll see at the top I have a tab that says New Section 1, which has been automatically created for me. So this is where we have our sections running across the top in different tabs. And essentially the way to look at these tabs is if you've got a paper notebook, imagine these as like dividers in your notebook. That's essentially what sections are. Now I'm going to rename this section. So where it says New Section 1, let's right click. And again, we have a right click menu full of different options. I'm going to say rename. And I'm going to call this one Meetings. And hit enter. So now I have my meeting section. I want to add some pages to this particular section. Now, if you look over on the right-hand side, you'll see I have this pane that says Add Page at the top, and currently we have an untitled page. And the untitled page is what I'm currently clicked on just here. So if I want to name this page, I just need to give this page a title. So this might be a section of my notebook where I have a page for every meeting that I have. So I'm going to call this first page, let's call this Team Meeting, and we'll give this a little date. We'll say the 10th of the 9th, 2020. And you'll see as I type that page title, if you look over on the right-hand side, it's now essentially given that page that name. I'm going to add another page by clicking the Add Page button above. Gives me another blank page, and we're going to call this one Project Meeting. And we're going to add a few of these pages in. I'm going to add another page, and we'll call this one Annual Staff Review. And we're going to say Jane Doe Review, and then John Doe Review. Okay, so really simple just to go through adding different pages to your sections. Now, one good thing about these pages when you add them is that underneath the title, you can see that we have the date and the time that I created these pages. So that can be quite useful sometimes because you can actually search in OneNote by date. So if I want to see all of the notes that I created on September the 16th, I can definitely do that. So that's why it's quite useful to have that date underneath that title. Now, something else you can do in here, if we go over to our pages, if we right click on any of the pages, again, we get a lot of options in our right click menu. I can do things like rename, delete my pages, move them around using cut, copy and paste. And something else I can do is I can make them sub pages. So for example, I have a page here called Annual Staff Review, and then I have a page for two members of staff, so Jane Doe Review and John Doe Review. So it might be that I want to make these two pages sub-pages of the Annual Staff Review. There's a couple of ways I can do this. If we select Jane Doe Review, if I right-click my mouse, I can select the Make Sub-Page option. And you'll see that essentially that indents that, so I can see that it's a subpage. What I could also do is instead of right-clicking, I can just click on the item. So let's select John Doe Review, and I can just drag it in to make that a subpage as well. So really easy to organize the structure or the hierarchy of the different pages in your notebook. Now I'm going to add, I'm going to rename a few of these other sections at the top here. So let's right click and rename this one Admin. I'm going to rename this one to Product Notes. And let's rename this one Business Trips. Like so. And I can carry on going, adding different sections. Now, when it comes to organizing these sections, I have the right-click menu. Again, I can move or copy them around, but a really easy way just to reorganize them is if I want to move business trips, I can just click on it, I can drag it, and you see as I drag, I get that little arrow, and I can then drop to move that particular section. Okay, so really simple to navigate around. Now we're going to be working in this business trips section. So I'm going to add 3 pages to this section. I'm going to call the first one New York. We're going to add another page and I'm going to call this Paris. And we're going to add another page and we'll call this Berlin. So now I have 3 pages within my business trips section. And it's probably a good point to point out to people, for those of you who are using a touch screen device, you might find it easier at this point if you switch into touch mode. So if you do use a tablet, you might find that some of these commands are a bit close together for your finger. What you might want to do is utilize touch screen mode, and you can do that simply by clicking the drop down arrow right at the top of the screen and turning on the touch mouse mode to add that to your quick access toolbar. Now I have mine turned on already. It's this little icon just here. And what you'll see is that when you go into touch mode, if you look at my icons, they get spaced further apart. So that allows a lot more room for your finger when you're utilizing OneNote on your tablet or even on any other kind of touch device. So just a little point of note just there. All right. So let's go back to our New York page and let's start adding in some notes. Now, one thing you might notice with OneNote is that it is a lot more versatile than working in something like a Word document. When you're working in Word, you're kind of restricted. You have headers and footers, you have page margins down the side which control where you can click. With OneNote, we don't have any such restrictions. I can literally click anywhere on this page, start typing, and it's going to allow me to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start adding some type notes first of all. So I can click anywhere on this page and let's add the title, I can never spell this word, itinerary. There we go. And you'll see that it appears in this little text box, which you can essentially move around. So if I hover over until I get that double-headed arrow, I can pick it up and I can drag and I can drop it to wherever I like. I can also increase the size of the text box simply by dragging in or dragging out. So it's kind of got a scrapbook quality to it, the way that you can just put things anywhere on the page. You're not restricted by margins or tabs or anything along those lines. Now, of course, with this application, if I double click this text, we have access on the home ribbon to all of those usual formatting options that we know and love across all of the Microsoft applications. So I have my cut, copy and paste, and I have all of my formatting options in this basic text group. Now I'm going to apply a bit of formatting to this heading. I'm actually going to use a heading style just to make this stand out and to make things a bit quicker. I'm going to use heading 1 to make that stand out a little bit from everything else. And what I'm going to do is underneath, I'm going to press enter and I'm just going to type in the 1st of the 11th, 2020. Enter, and then I'm going to add a bullet point again up on our home ribbon, and this is just basic formatting. And I'm going to start to type in my basic itinerary. Arrive New York, that would be nice at the moment. Who else is missing their holidays this year? It's a very sad situation, isn't it? I wish I was on a plane to New York. Unfortunately, not. Our second item is going to be check into the hotel Paramount in Times Square. You can literally just go through and start typing in your text-based notes and you have all of your formatting options available to you. Now, I want to get into showing you some of the things which you're probably not used to using in other applications. So let's just add in let's add in a map first of all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add into here a Google map of where this Hotel Paramount is located in New York. Now I can do this utilizing something called the OneNote Clipper. Now I will say the OneNote Clipper is a browser extension. It's not there automatically. So if you want to utilize this, I would recommend that you download the extension for whatever browser that you're using. So I'm using Google Chrome, but I know that it is also available for other browsers such as Microsoft Edge. If you just jump onto Google and search for OneNote Clipper extension for Chrome, you'll find it, you'll be able to add it in. It's completely free, you don't have to pay anything for it, and it is just a really nice little thing to have available in your browser if you ever want to clip anything and pull it into OneNote. So let's take a look at how it works. I'm going to jump across to Google Maps. And here we have a nice map of where I'm currently located. If I was to scroll in a little bit, I am just down here in Croydon in South London, tropical Croydon, which will probably give a lot of people on the call today who live in the UK and know where Croydon is. That will probably give you a little bit of a laugh. It is not tropical here at all, but this is where I am located. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for the Hotel Paramount. And you can see here, I searched for it earlier, Paramount Hotel. And it's going to zoom in and it's going to show me where that is. Now, it might be that I want to have to hand some directions, or at least be able to see where it's located when I'm coming from the airport to the hotel. So utilizing the OneNote Clipper extension, and you can see that up here in the browser that I'm using, you can see the little OneNote icon. That's what it's going to look like when the extension has been installed into your browser. So essentially what I can do is click on this. And it's going to ask me if I want to clip a full page, a region, an article, or a bookmark. So I'm going to say region. And then I can, I think because it's the first time using it, it hasn't liked that. Let's do that again. Region, there we go. And I can now drag over a section of the page. And it essentially clips it, okay? So what I can then now do is I can say, send it to my notebook, and it's got my notebook that I've created listed in there. And if I expand, it's going to show me the different sections. Now, unfortunately, I can't specify a page, but I can specify that I want to send it to the business trips section. And I'm going to say clip. It comes up clip in region. And if I go back to OneNote now, you should see just there in the pages area, I now have Paramount Hotel, and it's giving me that clipping, but it's also giving me a clickable link, which will jump me straight back to that location in Google Maps. So that's a really nice little feature as well. Now, you may decide that you don't want to keep this link. You can, of course, delete that out simply by highlighting it and deleting it. So you've just got the map, but that little link is actually really, really useful. So now I've got this in my notebook. I want to have this on my page for New York. I don't want it to be on this page that's just been created. So I can simply cut, Control X. I can go to the correct page. I can do a Control V to paste that in. And I'm going to move that underneath my text like so. And then if I don't need this page for the Paramount Hotel, I can just right click and I can delete that out. Okay, so a really nice way of getting images, and it doesn't just work for maps. You could find an image on Google or in a different application and utilize that clipper to do exactly the same thing. Now, another way that you can clip things is you can utilize the screen clipping tool from directly within OneNote. So if we go up to the insert ribbon, in this images group, we have an option for screen clipping. Now, this is available in, I think, in Word and also in PowerPoint, and I think Excel as well. This will allow you to select it and clip whatever is on the screen behind OneNote. And that is a really important point. When you click on screen clipping, what it does is it basically minimizes OneNote down and allows you to clip something that is behind OneNote. So whatever you want to clip, you basically have to make sure that it's the last thing or the last item that's open underneath OneNote. So I'm going to say screen clipping. And actually, what I want to clip, let's do that again. This is what I mean. If we minimize it down, I'm going to open up this little area here, and I'm going to go into the images for this particular hotel. So it might be that I want to take a screen clipping of this particular image. So I make sure that I open it, and then when I'm in OneNote, I go to screen clipping. It goes to whatever is behind and gives me my crosshair, so I can then drag over and clip whatever it is that I want, and it's going to bring it directly into OneNote for me. And again, I can move these things around. I can also resize them utilizing the handles in the bottom corner. And you'll see at the bottom, I also have some information that says screen clipping and then the date that that screen clipping was taken. So I'm going to make this a lot smaller, and I'm going to drag this underneath my map. And again, I'm sure you'll make this look a lot neater than I'm doing here, but hopefully you get the general idea. Let's drag that out a bit like so. And again, if you don't want this date that you clipped this item, you can just delete that out. Okay, so a couple of different ways that you can utilize clipping to pull items into your OneNote notebook. Now, what else can we do here? Well, we can add things like documents and spreadsheets into our notebooks as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another little title. So I'm going to click over here and I'm going to have documents. And I'm going to apply the same formatting, which is my heading style 1. And I'm going to position this just over on this side of my page. And what I want to have under here is some documents that I've got saved off related to my trip to New York, my itinerary, my flight details, so on and so forth. Now, when it comes to inserting documents, again, if we jump up to the Insert ribbon, you'll see we have an Insert Files area just here. And we can insert a file printout, a file attachment, or we can insert a spreadsheet. So let's go to File Attachment first of all. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my New York itinerary, which is essentially just a Word document. I'm going to say Insert, and I get the option to attach the file or attach the printout, or insert the printout, I should say. Now, it's worth noting that this Insert Printout option is basically exactly the same as clicking the File Printout option on the Insert ribbon. And the difference between these two is that if I choose to attach the file, it's just going to show the Word icon just here, and I can double click to open that document. But if I choose to insert the printout, let me show you what you get. You basically get the entire Word document imported, and it's going to show you whatever is in that document. So I have my New York itinerary just here, and I might want to move that around, but it's going to show you the contents of the file basically, as opposed to a link to the actual file. So sometimes that also might be quite useful for you. Now, I don't want to insert it like this. I'm going to delete it out, and I'm just going to insert the file attachment. I'm going to say attach file, and there we go. That's a little bit neater for me. I can just double click to open up that itinerary. Okay, so two different ways that you can do that. I'm also going to insert, let's insert another attachment, and this time I'm going to insert my flight details. This is just a PDF file. And again, I get the choice. I'm going to say attach file, and there I have a different file type inserted. Now, what you can also do is you can insert spreadsheets as well. So if you have something in Excel, maybe some kind of table of data or maybe a chart, you can insert anything from your existing Excel spreadsheets or create a new Excel spreadsheet from within OneNote. Now, I have an existing Excel spreadsheet that I've set up, so I'm going to select that, and it's called New York Weather. I'm going to click on Insert, and again, now I get the option to attach the file, which is going to give me the icon. I can insert the spreadsheet, which is going to show me the contents, or I can choose to insert a specific chart or a specific table from within the spreadsheet. Now, I'm just going to say Insert Spreadsheet because I know that I only have one item on my spreadsheet. And if we scroll across, there we go. So now I can put that underneath. I have a little chart there, which is showing me the weather in New York for the days that I'm going to be there. And you can also see that this is a link back to that spreadsheet. So if I want to make any updates to it, it's going to update in my OneNote notebook as well. Okay, so quite a few different ways that you can insert documents and spreadsheets into your OneNote notebook. All right, let's move on now to talking about something called tags. And for this, I'm going to jump back to my home ribbon. Now, tags are a really useful little feature in OneNote, and they essentially help you group your notes together. Now, to demonstrate this, I'm just going to add something onto this admin section. Let's create a new page called To-Do List. I'm just going to add in some to-do list items. So I'm going to say create project plan. Let's have update project information. Oops. Arrange meeting with dev team and prep for staff reviews. So I might have a big long to-do list just here. And what I can do is I can utilize tags to make these tagged items and also add little checkboxes next to my to-do list. So up on the home ribbon, you'll see here we have a tags group. And you'll find all of your tags that you have available are listed in here. And there are lots of them. And I'm going to show you a few examples of some of these, and I'll leave you to play around with the rest of them. Now, the one that I'm going to use for this, I'm going to use the to-do list tag. So I'm going to highlight all of my list. And from my tags drop down, I'm going to click on to do. And you'll see what it does automatically is it puts these little checkboxes next to each of my items. So as I complete different items, I can go in and I can check those boxes. And these are essentially now tagged as to-do items. What I could also do is if this prep for staff reviews is particularly important, I could tag this with something else. So I'm going to click next to prep for staff reviews. I'm going to go up to my tags and I'm going to select the important tag. And you can see it gives it that little star. If I jump back to my business trips tab, I might decide that checking into the Hotel Paramount is also very important and add a tag for that. It might be that, let's have a look. What else have we got in here? It might be that my itinerary or my flight details, I should say, this document is important. I'm going to tag that as important as well. And you have all different kinds of tags that you can utilize. So if you have addresses, you might want to tag them as addresses, websites to visit. If you have a bright idea, you might want to tag that. And the reason why this is useful is that what you can do is once you have lots of tags throughout your notebook, you can essentially search by tag and also create a little summary report utilizing these tags. So if I click on Find Tags at the top here, you can see what it does. It gives me a tags summary. I'm searching for tags by their tag name, and it's now grouped them. So it's showing me everything that I've tagged as important, which is my document and those two links. And then it's showing me all of my to-do items as well. So for each tag that I've used, I'll get a new little group and it shows them in a list. And what I can do is I can say at the bottom here, create a summary page, which is going to create a new page and it's going to show me everything that I've tagged in here. So if you can imagine, if you're working on in a business context, if you have different sections, different pages with project plans and notes and all different kinds of things, if you want to maybe go through and tag all of the action items that you're responsible for, you could go through, tag different things, create your summary page, and it will have them all there in a big long list for you. So that is how you can utilize that tags feature. Really nice little feature, really helpful. All right, I'm actually going to delete this page because I don't need this for now, like so. And let's jump back to our New York page. Now, something else that you have in here is you have integration with Outlook. So if you're using Outlook 2016 or 2019, then you will have integration with OneNote. Now, on the home ribbon, what you'll see over here is that we have Outlook tasks, and we also have a button for meeting details. So this is essentially the integration with Outlook. So what I could do here is if I jump across to my meetings section, and let's just go to our team meeting page, what I could do is I could import the calendar details from Outlook. So if I jump up to this meeting details button, you can see it's showing me all of the meetings that I have coming up or I have scheduled in my calendar, my Outlook calendar that is, for today. And you can see here I've got US client meeting between 8 and 9 p.m. tonight. So essentially what I could do is I could click on that, and it's going to import the details from Outlook of that meeting into my page. So it gives me my meeting subject, the date and time of that meeting. It gives me a link to get back to that item in Outlook. It would show me my message and any participants that I have. So if I click on expand there, I haven't put a message because this is just a test meeting, but if you had any details, that would be listed there as well. It's also going to show you all of the participants so you can see who attended that meeting. And then it puts notes underneath. So I love to use this feature. If I'm in a meeting and I want to take some of my own meeting notes, I'll import the details so I have all of those details there, and I can then happily start to type my meeting notes in the notes section. So I really like that little feature of Outlook. I'm going to delete that one out and just show you, if we go back to meeting details. For meetings that you have scheduled on other days, you'll see that you have a choose a meeting from another day option. And if we click that, it will allow you to utilize the calendar, or you can essentially use these arrows to scroll through the different days. So I've got another meeting tomorrow. I can select it, insert details. There we go. And it's put those details in. Now, if I click expand here, I have actually put in a description, so it's pulling that through from my Outlook. Okay, so I really like this little feature, this integration into OneNote. Now, another thing that you can do is utilize Outlook tasks. So if you flag anything in your OneNote notebook, that's going to feed through to your Outlook tasks list. So let's go to something like this. I'm just going to click where it says create project plan. I'm going to add a flag for today. You can see it flags the item. And then if I go across to my Outlook, and sometimes this does take a few minutes, and jump across to my Outlook tasks, you can see there it is. It's already pulled it through into my Outlook. So the integration between these two is really, really good. What you'll also notice is if I go to something like my, let's go to my email list, what you'll see is that you'll also have a OneNote icon in your Outlook as well. So if you want to send any of your email messages directly to directly to OneNote, you can click this button and it will send that email through as well. So some really nice integration features just there. Now, on to the last few items that I want to talk to you about. Something that's a little bit different with OneNote is that you can record audio and video directly from within OneNote. Now, I always say to people when I'm training this, do be careful with this. You know, if you're sitting in a meeting, especially if it's a particularly sensitive meeting, you might not want to be recording everything that everybody is saying. But if you're in something like, and this is how I use it, if I'm in a training session or something like that, and I want to essentially record what the speaker is saying, sometimes I'll use OneNote to partially record sections of the training. So we have the facility to do that. It's on the insert ribbon in the recording group just here. You'll see you have an option for record audio and also record video. So what we can do here is, I'm going to start this. I'm not sure how well it's going to work because I have microphones and things plugged in. It might not pick up anything. But what you can do is you can say record audio. And it's essentially started an audio recording. So currently it's recording all of the background noise, everything that I'm saying. We now get a recording ribbon where we have some options for pausing, stopping, starting, so on and so forth. And it's going to record all of the audio in a little file within OneNote, which you can then just play back. And the cool thing with this, and this works with both the audio and the video, if you're recording audio and taking notes at the same time, so if I was to click underneath here, and maybe I want to make a note about something the speaker has said, I'm just going to say test note. Essentially what OneNote will do is it will mark in the audio where you typed that note so that when you stop the audio, you can click the little play button next to where it says test note, and it will play back the audio that was playing when you typed that note. Okay, so it's a really nice little option. Now I'm going to stop recording. As I said, because I've got microphones plugged in, oh, it does look like it has recorded something. You'll see as I hover over, I get that little arrow that will allow me to play it back. I'm not going to play it back because, again, I'm using a microphone. But you'll also see that when I have test note, if I click the play button, it's going to play what I was recording at the time I typed the note. So really useful to be able to jump through that audio to the places that you need. And that feature runs through both the record audio and record video option. So something a bit different that you might not have known OneNote does. All right, let's move that down there and let's take a look at some of the other options that we have. Now, some of the basic things, let's go to the insert ribbon again. We have the option to utilize or even create our own page templates. So if I click the page templates option, it's going to open up a whole bunch of templates organized into categories. So we have academic, blank, business, decorative, and planners. So I'm going to expand business, and you'll see that we have templates for different things. So project overview, meeting notes, so on and so forth. Now, I will say with some of these, they do look like they are straight out of about 1993. If I show you what I mean, if I click project overview, that one's not too bad. But some of these ones, they are a little bit dated, I will say. But they are a template which you can use. The one that I tend to use most often is formal meeting notes, because I find that one is the least offensive design out of all of them. And this just gives you a template for if you're typing up any notes, and you can reuse that over and over again. You can make modifications to this template, and if you design a page that you want to save as your own template, you have the option to do that in this area as well. Right at the bottom, you have the option to save your current page as a template. And as soon as you save it as a template, you'll find that it's then available under this template section under custom at the top just here. So you can just select it and reuse the template that you've created. Okay, so page templates. Now, again, I'm going to delete these pages out because I don't need them and they're just taking up some room. In fact, I'm going to leave that one. A couple of other things that you might want to do. If we go to the View ribbon, we have some styling options in our page setup group. So you can do things like change the background with the page color. These are quite pastel, quite light, so I'm not sure if you can see those colors changing. You can also do things like add rule lines. This reminds me of being back at school, but if you wanted to have rule lines, if you're trying to line things up, or you want to actually type or write on a line, I would say that this kind of thing is quite useful for, again, people who utilize tablets with a stylus and tend to do handwriting. It's sometimes nice to have ruled lines in order to be able to do that. A couple of other things in here with regards to people who use tablets and a stylus, you do have the option to convert ink to text. So I'm going to jump to the insert ribbon, and you'll see, sorry, not the insert ribbon, the draw ribbon. You'll see here, this is where we can go to select our different pens. We can change the color and the thickness of the pen. We can insert shapes. And we have two options on the end here, ink to text and ink to math. Now I'm going to attempt to demonstrate ink to text. Now bear in mind that I don't have a stylus. I do have one. I seem to have misplaced it. So I'm going to try and draw or write a word with my finger. This may not be successful, but we shall see how we go. So let me try and write a word. Just bear with me. I'm going to select draw with touch. And I'm going to do hello. It's not too bad for a finger, I would say. So if I'd written that with a stylus and I wanted to convert all of my handwritten notes to text, what I could do is click on it and then click on the ink to text button, and you can see that that has correctly worked out that I was writing the word hello. So that's a quick way to convert handwritten notes to typed text. And I'm going to delete that out. Now, just to finish up, because we are almost at the end of the session, I want to do a couple of things related to searching. So you'll see that you have, over on the right-hand side, you have a search bar just here. And this is a very simple search bar. If I click in it and let's type in the word New York, you can see it's going to go through and it's going to find all of the pages, the sections which contain the words New York. And I can just double click to jump to that specific page. I can change the scope of where I'm searching. So if I click the drop down, I can choose to find on this page. I can search within this section, section group, this notebook, or across all notebooks that I have. Now, I currently only have one notebook. That is going to change in a moment because we are going to create another one. But just be aware you have that search over on the right-hand side. Now, if we go up to the review tab, some other things that we have when it comes to searching, sorry, not review, history tab. Some other things that we have when it comes to searching is we can search by any recent edits that we've made. So if I've been editing a notebook today, I can search for all the changes that I've made today, and it's going to show you those in yellow. I can search for changes that I made since yesterday, last 7 days, so on and so forth, and it will show me the pages where those changes have been made. I can also find certain items by specific author. So again, this is good if you have lots of people together collaborating on one notebook and you want to see or search by changes that a specific author has made, you can find changes by author. So again, in this search results, we have search this notebook and sort by author. And then it's got my name underneath. And if I expand, it's going to show all of the items that I've been changing. Now, if there were multiple people accessing this document and making changes, you'll see all of the authors listed. You'll be able to expand and then click to see all of the changes that they've been working on. Okay, so a nice little option there for you. Now, I want to finish up just by talking to you a little bit about creating local notebooks. So, as we know, when we created this work notebook, I saved it to OneDrive. So essentially, I can share this with others and we can all collaborate. Now, if I wanted to create a local notebook, all I would need to do would be to go to Add Notebook. And I would need to save it to a location that isn't shareable. So I'm going to go to Browse. And for me, pretty much everything on my PC is cloud storage. So I'm going to put it in the Downloads folder because I know that is a local folder. And this is going to be my personal notebook. I'm going to click on Create. And you see the difference there. When I created the shareable notebook, it asked me if I wanted to invite other people to that notebook. It didn't ask me that this time. It just created the notebook because this one is saved locally. And you'll see that I also don't get that little sync icon, which I do periodically for this particular work notebook. Okay, so just be aware of that when you're creating your notebooks. Now, when it comes to sharing notebooks, I'm going to go back to my work notebook, a very simple thing to do. If you haven't already invited people at the initial creation stage, you can go up to File and then you have a share option in here. So you can choose to share with people, you can share it with meeting, or you can move the notebook. So if I wanted to invite Adam to this particular notebook, all I would need to do would be to type in his email address into here. I can specify how much access I want to give him, so whether I want him to be able to edit or just view, and then I can just click share and it's going to share that notebook with Adam and we can both work together and collaborate on it. Okay, now I would say with this option for get a sharing link, which is underneath, I tend to use the sharing link if I'm sharing with a lot of people. So maybe I wanted 20 people to access this notebook. Instead of coming into share with people and typing all of their email addresses into this section up here, sometimes it's easier just to grab a link to the notebook and then put it into an Outlook email and utilize a distribution list or a group that you've already set up. Okay, so just be aware of the difference between these two. This one is a link and this one allows you to share it directly. All right, now the final thing, and this is the thing which causes most confusion for people, and that is deleting a notebook. Now, when it comes to deleting a notebook, you might notice if you right-click, the logical thing to do would be to find a delete option somewhere in here to get rid of your notebook, but we don't have a delete option. The only thing we have is a close this notebook. Now, that doesn't delete the file, it just closes the notebook down. So if I want to get rid of both of these, how would I do that? Well, if you've saved it into cloud storage like I have here with the work notebook, you need to go into your cloud storage and delete it from there. Yes, a little bit tedious. So I would need to go into OneDrive, find the notebook and delete it, and then come into here and close the notebook. So I've got it open up here very quickly, at least I did have. Let's go back to my Office 365. I'm going to quickly jump into OneDrive. And I'm going to go into Documents and OneNote Notebooks. And you'll see there is my Deb's notebook. So I have to come into here, select it, and delete it from here, and then go back to OneNote. And I can then safely close that notebook down, like so, to get rid of it. Now, I've just deleted it entirely. You could just close the notebook down and then reopen it. It will still be there. But if you want to delete a notebook, you have to delete it from its original location where it's stored first and then close it down. For my personal, it's a little bit easier. I can just jump into Downloads and I can delete it from there, like so. And then I can go back to OneNote. And again, I can do the same thing, right click and close this notebook. Okay. So a little bit tedious when it comes to deleting things, but that is the way that we need to do it. That is it, guys. That is a very quick run through. There are lots of other options within OneNote that I haven't had time to show you, but hopefully we've hit all of the main points there. So what I'm going to do is we've got about 3 minutes until the session ends. So I'm going to hand back to Adam to see if anybody has any questions and I will try to answer them for you.
Hey Debs, just coming off mute there. Thanks for that brilliant demonstration. We have a few questions that came in, but I think mostly they revolve around the different types of OneNote. I think a few people probably weren't seeing exactly what you were showing on the screen. So if your OneNote says and you're on a Windows PC and it's a desktop app, if it says OneNote for Windows 10, that's the light version that Debs was talking about at the beginning. And what Debs has shown you today is like the full desktop version. And I actually use the light version, and there's a few differences. So for example, there's no screen clipper on the light version. There is a history tab on the far left hand side, but it doesn't let you drill down in the same way. There's also no review tab. So it is good, and I use that a lot, but I'm thinking now I should probably go for the full desktop version because I really like some of the more advanced functionality in there.
This is the thing that people find so confusing, and I completely understand why. Like, we have so many different versions of the same kind of app, but each one looks slightly different. So it's like people struggle to understand which one they have access to, which one they need to use, so on and so forth. So let me just explain this as best I can. For Windows 10 users, you'll probably find that you already have OneNote built into Windows 10. If you want to check, let me show you. I'm in Windows 10. I'm going to click in search at the bottom. And if I type in OneNote, if you see this OneNote 2016 app, that is your Windows 10 version. Okay. And oh, sorry, that's my full version.
That's 2016.
Sorry, OneNote for Windows 10. There we go. OneNote for Windows 10 is the one that's built into Windows 10. So if I open this, you'll see that it looks different to the one that I've just been demoing for you. Similar in a way, but things are in slightly different order. Okay, but it's the same commands. It basically works in the same way. You've got add notebook at the bottom. So
the tabs are vertical rather than horizontal. Yeah,
yes.
That's the really confusing bit. If you're used to that version, looking at it, the tabs are the wrong way around. But,
exactly.
But yeah, functionally, it's very similar.
Yes, so that's OneNote for Windows 10, which you should have built into Windows 10 if you're a Windows 10 user. We then have for Office 365 users, or if you have a subscription to Office or Microsoft 365, you'll know that when you log into your portal, which is this thing which I'm showing you here, so when I log into Office, essentially, it takes me to here, where I can see all of my applications. Remember, all of the applications you access online are light versions of those applications. So even if I was utilizing Word or Excel online, they're not quite the same as the full desktop version. Okay, and that is the same thing for OneNote. So if I click on OneNote and I want to utilize the online version, it's not going to let me sign in because I'm signed into something else, but that is a lighter version of the full desktop version. So it just enables you to be able to access OneNote from any computer, wherever you are, as long as you've got an internet connection. What you then have is what I've shown you, which is the full desktop application. So again, if you are an Office 365 subscriber, you have access to these light web versions, but you also have this Install Office button just here. And when you click Install Office, it installs the full version of all of the applications onto your PC, which you can see down in my status bar at the bottom. Okay, when you install the full version of OneNote, that is what you get, the version that I've shown you, which is the full featured one. Okay, so that is kind of the difference between those three. You have one for Windows 10, you have a light version available for updating your notes on the go, but then you have the option of installing the full versions of all of the Office applications as well.
Yes, so this is why Debs and I love Microsoft so much. They make things so unbelievably complicated that it keeps Debs and I in a job, basically. Yeah. And if they didn't, then God knows what we do. But yeah. I've had issues with OneNote in the past. I think it's a fantastic tool. I use it every day. But I've encountered these kind of problems before with it, and I'm sort of banging my head against the wall going, well, I don't understand, it looks different. So yeah, if you're feeling that, and if you felt that throughout this presentation at all, then 100% we're with you. I would recommend though going for the full desktop version if you can, just because there's quite a lot more functionality there.
If you're a Microsoft user and you have a subscription to Office 365, then absolutely, just if you haven't done it already, install all of the full versions of your apps so you get the full versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint, so on and so forth.
Definitely.
Because, it's not worth working predominantly in the light online versions.
We do have one other question as well, which I think is a good one. Is there a way to archive files, or do you just need to delete them? So a good example might be if say you're working on a shared project, and you want to archive some files rather than delete them to clear up your workspace. Is that an option?
Can you archive? I might have to create a new notebook here to get into the options. Just bear with me 1 second. Let's just call this test. Notebook, not now. Let's have a look. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I guess you would, in a more practical way, you'd probably create a new notebook for each project you're working on, and then you would then not open that notebook, effectively move on to the next project. Notebook rather than.
That's what the closed notebook option would be there for. So if I had lots and lots of different notebooks here, and maybe I wanted to keep the notebook, but I no longer really needed it day to day to work on, I would just right click and I'd close the notebook. So it essentially removes it from the list, but it's still there, saved into your storage or wherever you've saved it off to. So it's just not going to appear in the list. Yeah.
And I guess you could even move that file if you wanted to onto an external hard drive or onto an archive file, into an archive.
Yeah, it's just a file, so you can move it to wherever you like. You have export options in here as well. I don't think that's going to be what you need though. You can export pages, sections, and entire notebooks as well. So if you did want to export it to, a PDF or something like that, you have export options in there as well.
That's a good point. Yeah. If you wanted to save it as a PDF, I forgot about that. Great. Any other questions? If not, I'll just run through a couple of other bits of news and things like that. Our next couple of webinars, and I'm looking at my OneNote as I read these off because that's where I have them stored. Next webinar is exploring the new dynamic array function in Excel. That's in October. So a new function in Excel. You're going to need Office 365 to access that function, but it's very cool, and Devs is going to show us all about it. And then in November, we're going to do 10 things you didn't know PowerPoint could do. So things to really sharpen up your PowerPoint presentations and make them pop. Good news, we are going to be doing a full OneNote course. I feel like we've covered a lot in this session, but we've only just scratched the surface, really. So after towards the end of the year, we'll be working on OneNote, latest version, and we'll be sure to include different videos on OneNote for Windows 10 and OneNote Desktop as well.
Yes, I was just thinking that it might be good to also include in that like tutorials for all of the different versions that we have. OneNote.
Couldn't agree more. Let's help people as much as possible there. Fantastic. So if there are no other questions, then we'll wrap it up here. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for taking the time to join us as always, and giving up your your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, or whatever sort of time it is for wherever you are. And we'll see you next month. The next one is going to be on the 22nd of October, so back onto Thursdays. I'll be sending out details of all of that in the next few weeks.
If you're not a subscriber, click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. To get 4 free courses in Excel, QuickBooks, Microsoft Project, and Photoshop, click over there. And click over there to see more videos from Simon Says It.